The chamber was larger than any human had ever imagined. It stretched for miles in every direction, a hollow sphere carved from the heart of an ancient moon. Floating platforms held thousands of alien delegates, their forms strange and terrifying. Some had too many eyes. Others had no bodies at all, just clouds of thinking gas held together by magnetic fields. The air smelled of chemicals that burned human lungs, and the gravity shifted every few seconds as different species adjusted the environment for their comfort. At the very center of this impossible space, a single small platform held the human delegation. 5 people stood there, looking very small and very alone. They wore simple black uniforms with no medals, no weapons, and no protective gear. Every species in the chamber could see them clearly. Every species was watching. Ambassador David Cole stood at the front of the group. He was 61 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been a history teacher before the contact, before humanity learned they were not alone. Now he represented 8 billion people who had no idea what was about to happen to them. The tribunal spoke. It was not one voice, but many. 17 massive crystalline structures floated above the chamber, each one containing a consciousness older than human civilization. When they spoke together, their words appeared directly in the minds of every being present. Species designation human. Origin planet Sol 3. You have been summoned to answer for your crimes against the Galactic Accord. David did not flinch. Behind him, Dr. Maya Ross, the delegation's science advisor, kept her face perfectly still. Lieutenant James Ward, their security officer, stood with his hands at his sides, fighting the urge to reach for a weapon that was not there. "We are here," David said simply. "What crimes do you accuse us of?" A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. Delegates whispered in languages that sounded like music, like thunder, like breaking glass. The tribunal's crystals glowed brighter. You developed faster than light travel without permission. You established colonies on 14 worlds without paying tribute. You refused to join the contribution network. You have shown defiance. David nodded slowly, as if the tribunal had said something interesting rather than threatening. "I understand. And what is the standard punishment for these crimes?" The chamber fell silent. No species had ever asked that question. All others had begged for mercy the moment they heard the charges. Complete technological regression. Permanent quarantine of your home world. Sterilization of all off-world colonies. Your species will return to a pre-industrial state and remain there forever. The human delegation did not react. Not a gasp, not a tremble, not a single tear. The 5 of them stood like statues, and something about their stillness made the watching delegates uncomfortable. David reached into his pocket. Instantly, 1,000 weapons powered up across the chamber. Energy beams, plasma cannons, and things that had no human names all pointed at the tiny platform. One wrong move and the humans would be vaporized. David pulled out a small black device, no larger than his thumb. He held it up for everyone to see. "Before I respond to your charges," he said calmly, "I need to inform the tribunal of something important." "You are not in a position to inform us of anything," the tribunal replied. "You will accept judgment." "Humanity does not accept your judgment," David said. "We do not recognize your authority." "We never did." The chamber erupted. Delegates screamed, roared, and broadcast psychic outrage across every frequency. The tribunal's crystals burned so bright they hurt to look at. "This is not a negotiation," the tribunal thundered. "You have no choice." David pressed the button on his device. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the human delegation's platform began to descend, moving toward the exit portal at the bottom of the chamber. "What are you doing?" the tribunal demanded. "We are leaving," David said. "The conversation is over. You cannot leave." Our fleet surrounds this system. Our warriors number in the billions. You are 5 humans on a diplomatic shuttle. You are nothing." David looked up at the 17 crystals, and for the first time, he smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knows a secret. "Check your sensors," he said quietly. "Check Earth." Across the chamber, delegates began accessing their monitoring systems. For thousands of years, the Council had watched Earth. They knew the location of every human city, every military base, every communication satellite. They had counted every human, tracked every ship, monitored every transmission. But now, as they looked at their screens, they saw something impossible. Earth was dark. Every city, every signal, every life sign gone. Not destroyed, not attacked, simply absent. 8 billion humans had vanished in the 3 seconds since David pressed the button. "What have you done?" the tribunal asked, and for the first time in 400,000 years, its voice carried something that might have been fear. "We left," David said. "All of us, everywhere, every human on every world. We have been planning this since we first detected your observation probes near Jupiter. We knew what you were. We knew what you would demand. So we prepared." The platform continued to descend. The weapons remained pointed at the 5 humans, but no one fired. They were all too shocked to act. "You cannot hide from us," the tribunal insisted. "We control this galaxy. We will find you." "No," David said simply. "You will not." He reached into his other pocket and pulled out a second device. This one was slightly larger, with a small screen that displayed a countdown timer. "In approximately 6 hours, every human colony will go dark. You will find our cities standing, our infrastructure intact, but no people. We have taken nothing that we did not build ourselves. We have harmed no one. We have simply chosen not to participate in your system." "This is impossible," a delegate shouted from somewhere above. "No species has ever escaped the Council. That is because no species ever planned to." Maya Ross spoke for the first time. "Humanity spent 15 years building the Exodus Array, a network of ships capable of carrying our entire population to a location you will never find. We are not running from you. We are simply choosing to exist somewhere else." The platform reached the exit portal. The 5 humans stepped off onto their small diplomatic shuttle, waiting where they had left it. David turned back to look at the chamber one last time. Thousands of eyes, sensors, and organs of perception stared back at him. "We bear you no hatred," he said. "We simply refuse to be ruled. Perhaps one day, when you have learned to ask instead of demand, we will speak again. Until then, goodbye." The shuttle's doors closed. Its engines activated, and within seconds, it was gone, leaving behind a chamber full of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, all of them staring at the empty space where humanity had stood. The tribunal's crystals flickered. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the military channels exploded with activity. The enforcement armada, 3 million warships strong, received orders to pursue. Admiral Corvin Thresh, the most feared warrior in 100 systems, took command of the hunt. But as his massive flagship entered faster than light travel toward Earth, a terrible certainty began to grow in his ancient mind. He had spent his life hunting species that tried to run. He had never failed. But something about the way those 5 humans had stood, so calm, so unafraid, told him that this hunt would be different. The humans had not run because they were scared. They had run because they had already won. 3 months had passed since the humans vanished, and the galaxy had not stopped searching. Admiral Corvin Thresh stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion, staring at a holographic map of the Sol system. His scales had turned from deep blue to gray over the past weeks. He had not slept properly since the hunt began. His 4 arms were crossed over his massive chest. and his yellow eyes burned with frustration. "Report," he said, his voice like gravel scraping against stone. His second in command, a thin insectoid officer named Lieutenant Bren, stepped forward nervously. "We have completed the 7th sweep of all 14 former human colonies, Admiral. The results are the same. Every city is intact. Every building stands. Power systems are operational. Water still flows. Food grows in automated farms. And the people? None, Admiral. Not a single human remains. Not a body, not a trace of DNA, not even a footprint that was not there before the evacuation. It is as if they were never there at all." Thresh slammed one of his fists against the console. The metal dented under his strength. 8 billion individuals do not simply disappear. They cannot have hidden. Our sensors can detect a single bacterium from orbit. Where did they go? Lieutenant Bren had no answer. Neither did anyone else far across the galaxy. In a forgotten corner of space that the Council had conquered and abandoned long ago, a secret meeting was taking place. The gathering occurred on a dead station, orbiting a dead world, far from any patrol routes, far from any sensors. Delegate Arin Voss arrived first. She was a silicate, her body made of living crystal that shifted colors with her emotions. Right now, she glowed a deep, anxious purple. Her species had been conquered 4,000 years ago. They had paid tribute ever since, mining their own world until it was nearly hollow, sending resources to the Council in exchange for the privilege of existing. One by one, others arrived. Gorin of the Veth, a 4-armed being with bioluminescent skin. The collective voice of the Bloom, a fungal intelligence that spoke through 17 linked bodies. Representative Talus of the Hollow Ones, a species so ancient they had forgotten their own name. 12 delegations in total, representing species from across the galaxy. All of them tribute payers. All of them subjugated. "You all know why we are here," Arin said, her crystal form casting purple light across the rusted walls. "The humans did something impossible. They escaped. The Council claims they will be found," Gorin replied. "Admiral Thresh has sworn to capture them within the year. Admiral Thresh has been swearing that for 3 months." The Bloom spoke through its many mouths. "Every week, his predictions grow longer. Every week, his tone grows more desperate. He will not find them. We all know this. The question is, what does their escape mean for us?" The Hollow One's representative made a sound like wind through empty corridors. "It means the Council lied. They told us escape was impossible. They told us resistance was death. But the humans resisted, and they did not die. They simply left." Silence fell over the gathering. Every species present had believed, for centuries or millennia, that the Council was all-powerful. That submission was the only path to survival. That hope was a luxury they could not afford. The humans had proven all of that wrong in a single moment. Aren's color shifted from purple to a cautious blue. "There is something else. Something I was not sure I should share until now." She reached into a container she had brought and pulled out a data crystal. Its surface shimmered with patterns that did not match any Council encryption. 3 years ago, before the humans revealed themselves to the Council, they sent a message to my world. It was hidden in a cargo shipment, buried so deep that our overseers never found it. I only discovered it last month, when I finally had time to search. "What does it say?" Gorin asked. Arin activated the crystal. A human face appeared, projected in the air above them. It was a woman, perhaps 40 years old, with dark eyes and steady hands. "My name is Dr. Helena Park," the woman said. "I am a researcher with the Earth Exodus Project. If you are watching this, it means our delegation has faced the Council and been rejected, as we expected. It means we have activated our departure protocol and left this galaxy behind. The gathered delegates leaned forward, their forms tense with attention. "But we did not leave you behind," Helena continued. "We spent years studying your species, your history, your potential. We know what the Council has done to you. We know how they have broken your spirits and stolen your futures. And we believe you deserve better." She held up a small device, similar to the one Ambassador Cole had used in the Council chamber. Hidden within this message is technical data, specifications for shielding technology that blocks Council sensors, instructions for building faster-than-light drives that do not use Council designs, star charts showing routes to regions of space the Council has never explored. "Everything you need to do what we did." The projection flickered slightly. Helena's expression grew more serious. "We cannot save you. We would not take away your choice, even if we could. But we can give you the tools to save yourselves." The Council's power has always rested on one foundation, the belief that there is no alternative. We are proof that alternatives exist. Now it is your turn to decide what you will do with that knowledge. The message ended. The crystal went dark. For a long moment, no one spoke. And the bloom of Uruk made a sound that might have been laughter. The humans were planning this for years. They knew they would face the Council. They knew they would leave. And before they left, they planted seeds. They gave us weapons that are not weapons. They gave us knowledge that is more dangerous than any fleet. "If the Council discovers we have this information," Gorin said slowly, "they will destroy us. All of us. They will turn our worlds to ash and scatter our remains across the void." "They will try," Arin replied, her color now a fierce burning red. "But they would have to find us first." 3 weeks later, the Council received a disturbing report. The silicate mining operations on Corinth 7 had gone silent. When enforcement vessels arrived to investigate, they found the orbital platforms empty. The underground tunnels that once held millions of workers were abandoned. The tribute shipments had stopped. Admiral Thresh was ordered to investigate personally. When his fleet entered orbit around Corinth 7, they found the planet stripped of its population. The same pattern as the human worlds. Cities intact, infrastructure functional, people gone. But this time, there was something new, burned into the planet's surface, visible from space. Was a message in the Council's own language. "We learned from the best. Come find us if you can." Thresh stared at those words for a long time. His scales had turned almost white now, the color of pure terror, because he finally understood what the humans had done. They had not just escaped. They had shown others how to escape. They had started a fire that was already spreading beyond his ability to contain Dot in somewhere, in a place no Council sensor could reach. 8 billion humans were watching, waiting, ready to welcome anyone, brave enough to follow. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. For the first time in living memory, fear hung in the air of the Grand Confluence Chamber. The Tribunal's 17 crystals burned with unstable light as they addressed the assembled delegates. 23 species have ceased tribute payments. 14 worlds have gone dark in the manner of the humans. The Defiance Movement, as they call themselves, grows stronger each day. This cannot continue. High Chancellor Morith, the Council's senior military commander, rose from his observation pod. He was a massive creature, 15 feet tall, with armored skin and eyes that glowed with inner fire. His species had served the Council since before most others existed. "We must make an example," he declared. "One so terrible that no species will ever consider rebellion again. I propose we deploy the Eternal Flame." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Eternal Flame was a weapon of last resort, used only twice in 400,000 years. It could ignite a star, turning an entire system into an inferno that burned for centuries. Nothing survived its touch. Against which target? The tribunal asked. Corinth 7, Morath replied. The home world of the silicates. They were the first to follow the humans' example. They must be the first to burn. The decision was approved within the hour. Aaron Voss received the warning 3 days later. A spy within the council, a low-ranking clerk who had grown tired of serving monsters, sent a coded message through channels they should not have existed. They are coming for your world. You have 6 days. 6 days to evacuate an entire planet. 6 days to move 2 billion silicates to safety. It was impossible. Everyone knew it was impossible. Aaron sent out a call for help. Anyway, the response came from everywhere. Veth trading vessels abandoned their cargo runs and raced toward Corinth 7. Bloom transport pods, usually used to move spores between agricultural worlds, were emptied and converted into evacuation craft. The hollow ones sent their fastest ships, ancient vessels that had been gathering dust for millennia and from the darkness of unexplored space. A single transmission arrived. This is Commander Samuel Drake of the Human Continuity Fleet. We cannot reveal our location, but we can offer assistance. Coordinates for a safe destination are attached. Get your people to these points in space, and we will guide them the rest of the way. Aaron stood at the command center of the evacuation effort, watching ships stream down from orbit. Crystal beings of every age loaded themselves into vessels never designed to hold them. Families said goodbye to their ancestral homes. Children too young to understand asked why they had to leave. We will not make it, Goran said, standing beside her. He had come personally to help coordinate the evacuation. The math does not work. We need more ships, more time. Then we find more ships, Aaron replied, her form glowing with fierce determination. On the 5th day, something unexpected happened. A council enforcement fleet dropped out of faster-than-light, travel in orbit around Corinth 7, 1,200 warships, each one bristling with weapons capable of turning cities to glass. At their head was a familiar vessel, the Dominion, flagship of Admiral Corvin Thresh. Aaron prepared to die. The evacuation was only 70% complete. Nearly 600 million silicates remained on the surface. If Thresh chose to attack, they would be trapped, but no attack came. Instead, a communication signal appeared on Aren's console. A direct line from the Dominion. Delegate Voss. Admiral Thresh's gravelly voice filled the room. I need to speak with you. Alone. Against the advice of everyone around her, Aaron took a shuttle to the Dominion. She was escorted through corridors filled with armed soldiers who stared at her with suspicion and confusion. Finally, she was brought to the Admiral's private quarters. Thresh stood with his back to her, looking out a window at the world he had been ordered to help destroy. I have served the Council for 400 years, he said without turning around. I have conquered 62 species. I have crushed rebellions, destroyed civilizations, and brought countless worlds to their knees. I told myself it was necessary. I told myself it was for the greater good. He finally turned to face her. His scales were gray, almost translucent. His eyes held something she had never expected to see in a council admiral. Exhaustion. The humans changed everything, he continued. When they stood in that chamber and refused to submit, I thought they were fools. I thought they would be destroyed like all the others. But they walked away. They simply walked away. And we could not stop them. Why are you telling me this? Aaron asked carefully. Because I have spent 6 months searching for them. 6 months sending ships into every corner of the galaxy. 6 months finding nothing. And in that time, I have had many hours to think. Thresh stepped closer to her. The Council's power was never real. It was always a story we told ourselves. The story that submission was the only option. The story that resistance meant death. The humans proved the story was a lie. And now, watching your people flee rather than surrender, I see that the lie is dying everywhere. The eternal flame is coming, Aren said. Your fleet could stop us. Why have you not attacked? Because I am tired of being a monster, Thresh replied simply. And because the humans taught me something I had forgotten. There is always a choice. He handed her a data chip. These are the access codes to my fleet's sensor network. For the next 12 hours, my ships will be officially conducting repairs. Their sensors will be offline. Their weapons will be in maintenance mode. Anything that happens during that time will not be recorded. Aren stared at him. You would betray the Council? After 400 years? I am not betraying the Council, Thresh said. I am choosing to stop serving evil. There is a difference. Over the next 12 hours, the evacuation accelerated. Council ships sat motionless in orbit, their crews confined to quarters on the Admiral's orders. Silicate vessels streamed toward the coordinates the humans had provided, carrying families, elders, children. 600 million became 400 million, then 200, then 50. When the last transport lifted off from Corinth 7's surface, Aren sent a message to the Dominion. Thank you. Thresh's reply was simple. Tell the humans, if you ever find them, that I understand now. And tell them I am sorry it took so long. 2 hours later, the eternal flame arrived. High Chancellor Morith himself commanded the weapon, a massive sphere that pulsed with contained stellar fire. He expected to find a populated world, ready to be made an example. Instead, he found an empty planet and a council fleet that had somehow failed to stop the evacuation. Morith ignited Corinth 7's sun anyway. The star expanded, consuming everything in the system. But the only witnesses were the empty buildings and abandoned machines the silicates had left behind. 2 billion people had escaped, and across the galaxy. In hidden places and quiet corners, other species watched the news and began to hope. Admiral Thresh was arrested the following day. His fleet was disbanded, his officers scattered to distant posts. But the damage was done. The Council had shown that even its own admirals could be turned. Even its most loyal servants could choose differently. And somewhere in the unreachable dark between galaxies, humanity waited. They had made a promise when they left. They would return. 1 year after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council was dying, not in fire and violence, but in something far more dangerous, irrelevance. 112 species had now joined the Defiance movement. Tribute payments across the galaxy had dropped by 60%. Entire sectors that once bowed to Council authority now operated independently, trading with each other, defending each other, ignoring every command from the Grand Confluence. The Tribunal's crystals had grown dim. Several had cracked, their ancient consciousness fragmenting under the stress of watching an empire crumble. When they spoke now, their voice trembled. We must strike. We must destroy them all. High Chancellor Morith stood before the remaining loyal delegates. His armor was dented and scarred from months of fruitless campaigns. We no longer have the resources for total war. Half our fleet has deserted. Our weapons facilities are understaffed. Every day, more species slip away. Then we use what we have, the Tribunal replied. We deploy every remaining eternal flame. We burn every world that defies us. We turn the galaxy into ash if we must. In her cell aboard a prison station orbiting a dead star, Aren Voss listened to the Council's broadcasts. She had been captured 2 months ago, during a supply mission that went wrong. Now she waited for her execution, scheduled for the following morning. But she was not afraid. She knew something the Council did not. The humans were coming back. She had seen the message herself, transmitted on frequencies the Council could not detect. A simple signal sent to every species in the Defiance movement. It said only, hold on. We are almost ready. The cell door opened. Our unexpected guards come to take her to her death. Instead, she saw a face she never expected. Admiral Corvin Thresh. He looked different. His uniform was gone, replaced by simple civilian clothes. His scales had regained some color, now a deep, thoughtful blue. And he was not alone. Behind him stood a human woman. Aren's crystal form flickered in shock. "How? My name is Captain Nora Webb," the woman said. She was young, no more than 30, with the same calm eyes as Ambassador Cole. "I am the daughter of David Webb. You may remember him." "The ambassador," Aren whispered. "The one who pressed the button." "The same. We have been watching you, Delegate Voss. We have been watching everyone. And now it is time to end this." Thresh unlocked Aren's restraints. "The Council plans to deploy their remaining Eternal Flames simultaneously. 17 weapons targeting 17 worlds. They intend to burn the Defiance movement out of existence." "When?" Aren asked. 2 days from now. We have that long to stop them." Nora led them through the prison station, past guards who lay unconscious on the floor, past security systems that had mysteriously failed. A small ship waited in the docking bay, its design unlike anything Aren had ever seen. "This is a scout vessel from the Human Continuity Fleet," Nora explained as they boarded. "We have 3,000 ships like it, plus another 5,000 from our allies." "Allies?" Nora smiled. "When we left this galaxy, we did not travel aimlessly. We had a destination, a place we discovered through signals that took millions of years to reach us. There are others out there, Delegate Voss, species that escaped the Council's predecessors, civilizations that have been waiting for someone brave enough to challenge this empire. We found them, and now they are coming to help." The ship launched into faster-than-light travel. Through the viewports, stars stretched into lines of light. "What is the plan?" Thresh asked. "The same plan we have always had," Nora replied. "Not to destroy the Council, but to prove they have no power. To show the galaxy that their authority is only real if people believe in it. And how do you intend to do that?" "By protecting everyone the Council tries to hurt. By being a shield instead of a weapon. By demonstrating that there is another way." They traveled for hours through hidden routes that bypassed Council patrols. Eventually, they emerged in a region of space that appeared empty on every scan. Then Nora transmitted a code, and the void came alive. Ships materialized out of nowhere. Thousands of them. Human vessels flew alongside craft of designs no Council species had ever seen. Some were elegant and curved, glowing with soft light. Others were angular and massive, bristling with technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. And at the center of the fleet, a structure larger than any space station in the galaxy hung like a second moon. "The Exodus Array," Nora said softly. "Our home for the past year. And soon, the gateway for anyone who wants to leave." Aren stared at the fleet in amazement. "You brought all of this from another galaxy?" "Not another galaxy. Between galaxies. The Wanderers live in the void between stars, in space so empty the Council never thought to look there. They have been watching this galaxy for millions of years, waiting for someone to break the cycle. We were the first to prove it was possible." A communication channel opened. A voice filled the ship, deep and ancient, but somehow warm. "Greetings, young ones. I am called the Keeper. I speak for the Wanderers. We have waited a very long time for this moment." Thresh bowed his head, overwhelmed. "Forgive me. I spent my life serving the very system you oppose." "There is nothing to forgive," the Keeper replied. "We were all prisoners once. The only shame is in refusing to grow. You have grown, Admiral Thresh. That is all that matters." Over the next 2 days, the combined fleet moved into position. Human vessels and wanderer ships spread out across the galaxy, each one heading toward a world targeted by the eternal flames. They did not attack Council forces. They did not fire weapons. They simply placed themselves between the weapons and their targets. Arin found herself on the bridge of Nora's command ship as they approached the defiant stronghold of Varan. Prime, a Council fleet was already there, the eternal flame warming up to fire. "This is High Chancellor Morith." A transmission came through. "Unknown vessels, you are interfering with Council justice. Withdraw or be destroyed." Nora stood at the center of the bridge, calm as stone. "This is Commander Nora Webb of the Human Continuity Fleet. We are not here to fight you. We are here to protect." "Protect? You cannot protect them. Our weapon will burn this entire system. Then you will have to burn us first." The human fleet spread into a defensive formation, thousands of ships forming a barrier around Varan Prime, energy shields activated, linking together into a network of protection that covered the entire planet. Morith hesitated. Destroying a few rebel worlds was one thing. Opening fire on a fleet that clearly had no intention of fighting back was something else entirely. "You are bluffing," he said finally. "You would not sacrifice yourselves for strangers." Nora's voice carried across every frequency, reaching not just Morith, but every species watching across the galaxy. "That is where you are wrong. That is where you have always been wrong. The Council believes power comes from the ability to destroy, but real power comes from the willingness to protect. We are not bluffing. We are not afraid. And we will not let you hurt anyone else." Silence fell across Space Dot, and in that silence, the galaxy held its breath. The standoff lasted 7 hours, across 17 star systems. Human and wanderer ships held position between the Council's eternal flames and the worlds they meant to destroy. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single weapon activated. The human fleet simply waited, shields up, broadcasting a message that repeated on every frequency: "We will not attack. We will not retreat. We are here to protect." High Chancellor Morith stood on the bridge of his command vessel, watching the impossible unfold. His officers waited for orders that did not come. The eternal flames hummed with contained destruction, ready to ignite stars and consume worlds. All he had to do was give the command, but something held him back. The humans were not fighting. They were not threatening. They were simply standing in the way, offering themselves as shields for species they had never met. Morith had conquered 100 worlds. He had destroyed civilizations that begged for mercy. But he had never faced an enemy that refused to be an enemy. "High Chancellor," his weapons officer said nervously. "Your orders?" Morith opened his mouth to speak. The word fire formed on his lips. Then a new signal cut through every communication channel in the system. A familiar voice, one that haunted Morith's dreams. "This is Ambassador David Webb of the Human Continuity Fleet. I address the Galactic Council directly." The holographic projection appeared on every bridge in the Council fleet. David Webb looked older than he had a year ago. His hair was whiter, his face more lined, but his eyes held the same quiet certainty they had when he stood in the grand confluence and told the most powerful beings in the galaxy that he was leading. "You have a choice to make," David said. "The same choice you have always had, though you convinced yourselves otherwise. You can fire your weapons. You can burn these worlds. You can kill millions of innocent beings. But if you do, you will have to kill us first. All of us. Every human, every wanderer, every ship that stands between you and your targets." The projection expanded, showing the full scale of the combined fleet. Thousands of vessels, representing species from 2 galaxies, all unified in a single purpose. "And after you finish, assuming you can finish, you will look around and realize that you have proven our point, that your power is nothing but destruction, that you have no authority anyone would willingly accept, that you have been tyrants all along. David's expression softened. Or you can choose differently. You can lower your weapons. You can let these people go. You can accept that the old way is dying and that something new is being born. The council once ruled through fear, but fear is not loyalty. Submission is not respect. Control is not strength. We offer you the chance to learn the difference. The transmission ended. Morath stood frozen. Around him, his officers waited. Across 17 systems, millions of beings held their breath, and then, slowly, the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council did something he had never done before. He lowered his weapons. The eternal flames powered down. The Council fleet began to withdraw, and across the galaxy, cheers erupted from 100 worlds. The war that never happened was over. 1 month later, the Grand Confluence Chamber hosted a gathering unlike any in its history. Not a trial, not a judgment. A conversation. Ambassador David Webb stood at the center of the chamber, but this time he was not alone. Beside him stood Commander Nora Webb, his daughter, Delegate Aaron Voss of the Silicates, Admiral Corvin Thresh, former enforcer turned rebel, and behind them, representatives of 200 species, some from this galaxy and some from the spaces between galaxies where the Wanderers made their home. The tribunal's remaining crystals glowed weakly, their ancient light fading. "You have won," the tribunal said, and there was no anger in its voice, only exhaustion. "The council is finished. What do you intend to do with us?" David stepped forward. "Nothing." The chamber stirred with confusion. "Nothing? You expected us to conquer you, to punish you, to do to you what you would have done to us. But that is not who we are. That is not who any of us want to be." He gestured to the gathered delegates. "Every species here was once your prisoner. Every one of them suffered under your rule. But they did not come here for revenge. They came here to offer you the same thing we offered them. A choice." Aaron Voss stepped forward, her crystalline form glowing with warm orange light. "Join us, not as rulers, but as equals. Learn to ask instead of demand. Learn to protect instead of destroy. The Wanderers have shown us that civilizations can exist for millions of years in peace. They have given us knowledge beyond anything in Council archives. That knowledge is yours too, if you want it. And if we refuse?" The tribunal asked. "Then we will leave you alone," Nora said. "We will not force you to change. We will simply stop letting you force anyone else. The tribute system is over. The enforcement fleet is disbanded. Any species that wants to leave your influence is free to go. What remains is your choice." For a long moment, the tribunal was silent. Its crystals flickered, thoughts older than human civilization processing what they had heard. Then, slowly, one of the crystals began to glow brighter. A new voice emerged, younger somehow, less weary. "For 400,000 years, we told ourselves we were maintaining order. We believed the galaxy needed us. We believed that without our control, everything would collapse into chaos." The crystal pulsed with something that might have been regret. "But watch what has happened since you left. Species that we thought could not survive without us have thrived. Worlds we believed needed our guidance have governed themselves. The chaos we feared never came. We were wrong." Other crystals began to glow, their light shifting from the harsh white of authority to softer colors. "We accept your offer. We will learn. We will try to become what we should have been from the beginning." The chamber erupted not in anger or fear, but in something like relief. Species that had been enemies for millennia looked at each other with new eyes. Delegates who had expected war found themselves planning cooperation. The old order was ending, and something new was beginning. Outside the grand confluence, the combined fleet of humans, wanderers, and freed species hung in peaceful formation. On the bridge of the command ship, David Webb stood with his daughter, looking out at the stars. "Is it really over?" Nora asked. "The war is over," David replied, "but the work is just beginning. We spent 15 years planning to escape. Now we have to spend the rest of our lives proving that freedom's worth fighting for." "We did not fight," Nora reminded him. "Not once." David smiled. That was the whole point. The Council believed power came from the ability to destroy. We proved that the greatest power is the willingness to protect, to stand in the line of fire without firing back, to offer mercy to those who showed none. He put his arm around his daughter. "The humans who fled Earth are building a new civilization among the wanderers. The species we freed are learning to govern themselves. The Council is trying to become something better. It will take generations. There will be setbacks and failures and days when we doubt everything we have done. But for the first time in 400,000 years, the galaxy is free. And that is worth any price." Far away, on a world that floated between galaxies, a child was born. She would be the first of her generation, the first to grow up in a universe where the Council's shadow did not fall. Her name, chosen by her parents, meant new beginning in an old Earth language. She would never know what it was like to fear the tribunal. She would never experience the weight of tribute or the threat of destruction. She would grow up believing that freedom was normal, that cooperation was natural, that species could live together without domination. And one day, when she was very old, she would tell her own grandchildren the story of how it all began. How 5 humans stood in a chamber full of monsters and refused to bow. How they pressed a button and vanished into the dark. How they returned not as conquerors, but as protectors. How humanity taught the galaxy that real strength is not the ability to destroy. It is the courage to choose differently. The end.